Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University.
Hello dear student, have a nice day. Myself Kiran Patel, Assistant Professor in School of Computer Science of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University, Ahmedabad, Gujarat. Dear students, we are going to start with the course RDBMS, Relational Database Management System. In today's session, we will learn about the Block 4. Unit 1 is a Introduction to PLSQL. Now we will start with the Block 4. Unit 1 is an Introduction to PLSQL. First of all, we see the agenda of the Unit 1 is a learning objective. Introduction, PLSQL environment, advantages of PLSQL, fundamentals of PLSQL, data types and variable of PLSQL. After learning this unit, students will be able to understand the basic concepts of the PLSQL and to write the PLSQL block and execute it. Now start with the introduction of PLSQL. PLSQL is an Oracle's procedural language. It is an extension to the SQL. PLSQL thoroughly integrates the modern software engineering features such as the data encapsulation, information hiding, overloading, exception handling. We don't have a separate place or prompt for executing our PLSQL programs. PLSQL engine that execute the PLSQL block and subprograms. Due to the strong integration of the SQL and PLSQL, PLSQL is a very effective in the data manipulation. The SQL Plus is the interactive and batch query tools that will install with the every Oracle installation. We can found it at a start and then program, then Oracle, Ora home name, then application development and then SQL Plus. Or we can easily write search the SQL Plus and then select it. Now it has also a command line user interface, Windows GUI and web-based user interface. It allows the user to connect to the database and execute the PLSQL commands. Now, what is PLSQL environment? Using PLSQL, we can use the SQL statements to manipulate the Oracle data and the flow of the control statement to process the data, and moreover, we can also declare the constant variables, define the subprograms, that is procedure and function, and handle the runtime errors. Thus, the PLSQL combines the data manipulating power of the SQL with the data processing power of the procedural language. See, in the diagram, PLSQL engine executes the procedural statement and send the SQL part of the statement to the SQL statement processor in an Oracle server. And PLSQL combines the data manipulating power of the SQL with the data processing power of the procedural language. See, when we execute the PLSQL block, then PLSQL block is going to the PLSQL engine. From the PLSQL engine, PLSQL block, PLSQL statements, from PLSQL block, PLSQL statements are executed by the procedural statement executor, and from the PLSQL block, SQL statements is executed by the SQL statement executor in an Oracle server. The PLSQL engine has a PLSQL executor which execute only PLSQL statements, and Oracle server have a SQL statement executor. So it will execute the SQL statement only. Now we see the PLSQL block structure. PLSQL is a block structure language. That is, the programs of the PLSQL contains the logical blocks. The figure shows the two optional and two mandatory parts of the PLSQL block. The declaration and exception is an optional part of the PLSQL, and begin and end is a mandatory part of the SQL. We can start using begin and end portion only, and declaration and exception is a optional. Now, what is declaration part? This section begins with the keyword declare. This is an optional part of the PLSQL block structure because the declaration section is used to declare the necessary variable, cursor, and user-defined exception, etc. If we no need to declare any variable or cursor, then we do not define this section. It contains the name of the local object that will use in a code block. Now, begin section. This section start with the keyword begin. This section contains the executable statement of the SQL and PLSQL. This is the only mandatory section. It contains the statement that will be executed. This consists of the SQL statement, DML statements, procedures, PLSQL code block, function. Function is also PLSQL code block that returns a value, and built-in subprograms. We all this declared. Begin means the body part of the PLSQL block structure. Now the exception section. The exception section, this section begins with the keyword exception. Any error occur while executing the statement in a begin part can be handled in this part. This is an optional section. It is used to handle any error that occur during the execution of the statement and commands in the executable section. It is not compulsory. If any error occurs, then it will handle. Otherwise, no use of the exception section. Now, what is the end? The code block is terminated by the end keyword. This is the only keyword end with the followed by the semicolon. Just write down end and then semicolon. How to execute this block? Using slash sign. Now, see in the example, the only required section in the PLSQL is executable section. This means the code block must have a begin and end keyword. The code block is executed by the slash symbol. Here, after end, you can write down the slash and then enter. For this, the block is executed. Here, the declare section declares the num is a variable name, num variable. The size of data type is number and size is 3. Now, begin section. In begin section, num variable is initialized and 10 value is stored in a num variable. After that, here DBMS underscore output dot put underscore line, this line is used to print the number. Number is a message, and pipeline is connect this message with the number variable. So, the output of this code is number is 10 because num is display 10 value, and after that end and then semicolon. If you run this block, then write down slash and then enter. Now, types of the PLSQL block. There are 3 PLSQL block types as shown in the figure. PLSQL is a block structure language. The unnamed block are called the anonymous block, and the name block are called the procedural or a function block, that is subprogram. Here, we directly use in an anonymous block, we directly use begin and we can give the user defined name of the procedure and function. Here we cannot give the user defined name, but procedure and function have a user defined name. The difference between the function and the procedure is that the function can be used in a expression and it returns a value to that expression. A procedure is invoked as a standalone statement and passes the value to the calling program only through the parameters. The subprogram can be nested within one another and can be grouped in a larger unit called the packages. The basic unit like procedure, function and anonymous block that make up the PLSQL program are logical block which can contain any number of the nested sub-block. Typically, each logical block corresponds to the problem or sub-problem to be solved. We can see the practical example in a next session, next video lecture. Now, what is the advantages of the PLSQL? There are the various advantages of using the PLSQL. It is a procedural language and also supports for a SQL. It is a portable, easy language and better performance. We can declare the identifiers also. We can program with the control structure. It can handle the errors and prevents the program from the abnormal termination using the exception handling mechanism. If any error occurs in a program, any abnormal condition like for example number is not divisible by 0. If you have a executed division program and you have to enter two number, one number and second number is 0, then here the number is not divisible by 0. So, abnormal condition is generated. That's why the exception section is used. If you not use the exception section, then any abnormal condition is occur, then program is terminated. Now, modularized program development through the various PLSQL blocks such as the procedure and functions. It integrates with the Oracle server and shared the libraries. It used the Oracle server and also used the libraries, functions. It improves the performance through the better communication with the underlying the DBMS. It supports the object-oriented programming. See, in a SQL, we can execute one by one command, but in a PLSQL, more than one SQL commands are used in a PLSQL block and together execute at a one time. In simple, more than one SQL statement execute at a one time. Now, fundamentals of the PLSQL. Lexical unit. What do you mean by lexical unit? The PLSQL is not a case sensitive language. So, the lowercase letter and equivalent to the corresponding uppercase letter except the within a string and character literals. A line of the PLSQL text contains the group of the character known as a lexical unit, which can be classified as a follow. First is the delimiters. Simple and compound the symbols. We use the symbols which is called the delimiter. Means the delimiter is a symbol. It is a simple and compound symbol that has a special meaning to the PLSQL. For example, we can use the delimiter to represent the arithmetic operations such as the addition and subtraction. For example, symbols like plus, minus, multiplication, division, less than, greater than equal to, less than equal to, colon, comma, pipe, star, etc. These all the symbols are called the delimiter. Now what is identifiers? Identifiers is also a lexical units. The identifier is a name given to the particular object. We can use the identifiers to the name, the PLSQL programs object, and unit, which includes the constant, variable, exceptions, cursor, subprograms, and package. We give the name to this. Now, some identifier called the reserved words have a special meanings, syntactically meaning to the PLSQL. And the reserved word have a special syntactically meaning to the PLSQL and so cannot be redefined. For a flexibility, PLSQL to enclose the identifier within a double quotes and quoted identifiers are occasionally they can be useful. Now next one is a literals. Literals is a value. It is an explicit numeric characters, string and boolean value not represented by the identifiers. Two kinds of the numeric literals can be used in a arithmetic expressions, integer and real. The string literals means the string value. It is a sequence of the 0 or more character. Always character or string value is enclosed by the single quotes. All the string literals except the null string enclosed by the single quotation and belongs to the character data types. PLSQL is a case sensitive within a string literals. The boolean literals are the predefined value that is true and false and non-null values which stands for the missing. Null means missing, unknown or inapplicable value. Boolean literals are not a string. Fourth one is a comments. Comments is also a lexical unit. The PLSQL compiler ignores the comments. It will not execute the comments. Adding the comments to enhance the readability and understanding the code. PLSQL supports the two types of the comments, single line and multi-line. The double hyphen dash dash is a single line comments. We can use anywhere on the line and extend to the end of the line. And multi-line comments begin with the slash and asterisk sign and end with the asterisk and slash and can span the multiple lines. See in the example. In this code, we are going to print welcome to BAU and we are also going to check how the commented lines behave in the code. So first of all begin and then double hyphen dash dash is a single line comment. This is the single line comment which is not executed by the PLSQL engine. It is just for understanding. Now the next one is a DBMS underscore output dot put underscore line is used for a display the message welcome to BAU. Now the next is the slash and star is a multi-line comment. Starts the multi-line comments and end with the star and slash and then end and slash is used for a execution of the PLSQL block. So here we use the single line comments and this one used for the multi-line comments. Now basic data types of the PLSQL. First of all, every constant and variable has a data types which specify the storage format, constraints and valid range of the values. The PLSQL provides a variety of the predefined scalar and composite data types. The scalar type has no internal components and the composite types has internal components that can be manipulated individually. The PLSQL mostly use the following types of the data types, which are the number, character, varchar2, boolean, date. This one is the basic data types used in a SQL as well as the PLSQL. Here, the syntax of the number data type is that the number in the round bracket, the square bracket is optional. The round bracket is the precision, comma, scale, means P and S. The numeric data types is used for the integer as well as the real numbers, means without point, integer means without decimal point and real means floating point number. It is a virtually any size. We can specify the precision, which is the total number of the digit, and scale, which determines where the rounding occurs. The P means overall number of the digit or total number of the digit. Maximum value is 38. And scale means number of the digit to the right of the decimal places. For example, price. Then data type is the number. This one is the variable name and this one is the number. In the bracket, 5 means total number of digit 5. And after decimal places, 2 number of the digit. Maximum last number is a 999.99 is the last number we can store here. Now the character data types, the syntax is character in the bracket length. We can use the character data type to store the fixed length character data, and the character data type takes the optional parameter that specify the maximum length up to 2000 bytes. If we do not specify the maximum length, by default or a minimum size is a 1 byte. It is a fixed length. So it have a wastage of the memory. Now varchar2 and then in the bracket length, number of characters. We can use the varchar2 data type to store the variable length character data. The varchar2 data types takes the required parameter that specify the maximum length up to 4000 bytes. So maximum character we can store 4000, up to 4000. Boolean data types. The Boolean data types is used to store the value true and false and non-value null. Null means missing, unknown or inapplicable values, but we cannot use here in a Boolean. The true and false value is stored in a Boolean type of the variable. Now date data type. We use the date data types to store the fixed length date value. The date data types takes the no parameters. Maximum size of this date variable is a 8. The SQL and PLSQL both data types use in a PLSQL program blocks. These all the data types we are discussing in a SQL portion also. Block 3, Unit 1 in a details. So in a PLSQL we can use the SQL as well as PLSQL. Both the data type we can use in a PLSQL block structure. Now at the end, thank you all. Today we have been discussed about the introduction of the PLSQL, PLSQL environment, advantages of PLSQL, fundamentals of the PLSQL, data types in PLSQL, etc. In next session, we will start with the remaining topics, that is variables in a PLSQL. If you understand this session and getting the knowledge from this session, then please subscribe the BAOUGujarat. And once again, thank you all.
स्वाध्यायः परमं तप